We've covered a lot of information so far in this unit. We'll wrap up our coverage of evolutionary concepts with the evolution of primates and humans. These are your learning objectives. This one can be added to the timeline you constructed last week. Speaking of time, if we reduced the entire history of the Earth to a 24-hour period, when would humans appear? Pause this video and select your answer. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, would only have evolved about 4 seconds before midnight on a 24-hour clock. The entire genus, Homo, that's all humans, only appeared in the last minute. We can look at this graphic and review the timeline of the Earth from last week. If the Earth started at midnight, there's quite a while, about 500 million years, where the Earth was bombarded by asteroids. This is actually how the moon formed. A very large collision occurred, knocking off a part of the Earth that then entered into orbit. This was the moon. As this bombardment lessened, the first life is able to appear around 4 a.m. These are those early prokaryotes. By about 9 a.m., photosynthesis evolves. The Earth's atmosphere fills with oxygen, leading to the oxygen catastrophe and the evolution of eukaryotic cells. By about 6 p.m., we see the very beginnings of multicellular organisms. These are those blobs. Ancestors to plants and animals appear in the fossil record around 8 or 9 p.m. Tiktaalik moves onto land around 10 p.m. The Permian extinction, the Great Dying, occurs just before 11 p.m. And dinosaurs evolve and diversify into niches until the Cretaceous extinction event, which would happen around 11:30 p.m. Birds and mammals expand into those niches, so all life that we're familiar with appeared in the last half hour of this 24-hour clock. Prokaryotic cells have dominated life on Earth since 4 a.m. Unicellular life has existed since 4 a.m. We focus so much on humans, but we're actually just this really teeny tiny fragment of time. Dinosaurs lived on this planet for, in this analogy, an hour. We've only been around for less than a minute. Before we start talking about primate evolution, we need to address the different groups of primates. Primate refers to an order of mammals. There are different taxonomic subgroups within this order, and that's a little more complicated than I'd like to get into. So we're just going to call these 4 types of primates groups. There are prosimians, which are mostly lemurs, like the ring-tailed lemur. They only exist today on the island of Madagascar. They're all endangered. They tend to be arboreal, insectivorous, and nocturnal. New World monkeys are named that because they're found in the Americas. These include spider monkeys, capuchin monkeys, and howler monkeys. They have long prehensile tails, which means their tails can grasp onto things. Old World monkeys are named that because they're found in Africa and Asia. These are baboons, macaques, and mandrills. They have tails, but they're not prehensile or as long as the New World monkeys' tails. They're more like dog tails. And there are the apes. These are chimpanzees and bonobos, gorillas, orangutans, and humans. Apes are tailless. Let's draw a phylogenetic tree for these primates. We'll start with a common ancestor of all primates back here. This is about 50 million years ago. The prosimians are most similar to these ancestral primates, so we'll put them on this line. All other primate groups branched off of this line. There's a split that occurs between the Old World and the New World. New World monkeys are here, and the other groups travel along this line. This then splits into Old World monkeys and apes. All of these groups had further splits within. If we look at one example with apes, we could have different groups, maybe gibbons and gorillas and chimps and humans. This split happened about 5 million years ago. Our closest relatives would be the chimps. Many people say we came from chimps or we came from monkeys. When we're talking about these current groups, these would be like our siblings or our cousins. We can't evolve from anything that currently exists with us. This organism back here was not a chimp. It was something else. Today it's a chimp. So we didn't evolve from any of these current groups. That last point is an important one. Monkeys that we have today are on different branches from apes, separated for at least 14 million years. We cannot descend from any current group. If we're talking about monkeys today, we can't possibly descend from anything we think about as a monkey. We do all have a common primate ancestor, though. By the way, this image, which is often a visualization for human evolution, was originally published in Time magazine to show the different fossil ancestors of the hominin or human group. The artist, however, made one huge mistake. He pointed all the specimens in one direction, as though they're marching in a line, all of them leading toward modern humans. This is incredibly misleading. First, most of these species were not direct ancestors of humans. They were just different fossils of this human group that had been found. Second, this little primate on the left often has a tail added, like a monkey. This is a fossilized ape, though. It did not have a tail. Even the original image in Time magazine did not show a tail. It got added later for some reason. So while this image is humorous and fun for t-shirts and jokes, it's not an appropriate visual portrayal for the evolution of humans. We've talked about the 4 different groups of primates: prosimians, New World monkeys, Old World monkeys, and apes. If we focus on apes and the fossils that would be included in the ape group, those are called hominids with a D. Hominins are the subgroup of apes that includes all human ancestors. There are at least 6,000 individual fossils of hominin species. And in the next mini lecture, we'll look at these 6 species highlighted in red. Let's add some important events to our timeline. You already have this 65 million years ago event, the Cretaceous extinction, when the dinosaurs died out. There were already small mammals that had existed for over 100 million years, but they weren't hugely successful. When the dinosaurs' niches opened up, they were able to expand and diversify. About 50 million years ago, there was a population of mammalian insectivores that became the first group of primates. These would have been ancestral prosimians. Different populations branched off from this primate group. One of those branches were the apes, or hominids, about 14 million years ago. One group of hominid branched off about 5 million years ago. These were the hominins, or the human group. And one population of hominins branched off about 200,000 years ago. These were the modern humans, or Homo sapiens. In our next mini lecture, we'll focus on this group of hominins that date back 5 million years.